tonight. Back to school means cold and flu season is coming, and experts say don't forget about COVID-19. Also, beyond Two-Spirit, how some Indigenous people are looking to revive traditional LGBTQ terms. Plus, researchers from the University of Saskatchewan are tracking the rapid decline of a major glacier in Banff.
Well, dramatic change since last year.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, September 7th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. For the first time in 3 years, we're heading into the fall, not in a pandemic. The World Health Organization called off the global emergency back in the spring. But as Jesse Anton reports, as the weather gets cooler and the cold and flu season sets in, experts say COVID-19 should not be ruled out.
There are no provincial updates anymore, and we don't have any mask mandates in place. But how are people feeling about COVID? Is it still on their minds? We went to find out. Is COVID on your mind still?
Yeah, every moment of every day.
I think I'd just rather not think about it after thinking about it for like 2 years straight.
We know based on past trends that COVID tends to increase and is airborne. So with kids going back to school and it getting colder, it's absolutely front of mind for me.
Since the Saskatchewan government stopped tracking the data like it used to at the height of the pandemic, there's no longer an accurate representation of the COVID-19 numbers across the province. But experts say it's still among us.
We shouldn't just be taking this virus lightly. We should be doing whatever we can to protect ourselves from infection. And to me, one of the best ways of doing that, obviously, is to be vaccinated.
Blondo recommends people watch for the new booster shot that's expected later this month or early next. It's supposed to offer protection from the new Omicron variant, BA.2.86. And if you're sick, they say it's still a good idea to rapid test yourself. You can still get those kits at most local fire halls, libraries, and co-op stores across Saskatchewan. And if you still have one, but maybe it's past its expiry date, the province says it is probably still okay to use. Many test kits have had their shelf life extended to 24 months from the manufacturing date, but still getting a fresh one is worth it.
In general, if something is expired, it's because the manufacturer is concerned that the viability of the assay, decreases over time. And if that's the case, if you're using an expired assay, then you always have to wonder whether or not a negative result is truly negative.
If a fresh test is negative, but you're still feeling sick, Blondo says there's a good chance it's a different respiratory illness. So the same public health guidance applies. Stay home until you're feeling better, and if you do have to go out, wear a mask. Jesse Anton, CBC News, Regina.
A 36-year-old cyclist is dead after being hit by a vehicle yesterday in Saskatoon. Police say it happened at 19th Street West and Avenue P South near St. Paul's Hospital. Family members have confirmed Darren Kinowis was the man severely hurt at this intersection. He was taken to hospital where he later died. His sister says he loved spending time outdoors and biked everywhere.
He was very kind. He was very helpful. He was just shy too. He was a whole lot of shy. But man, once you get to know him or once he got to know you, he was there for you if you needed it. Probably come bike to you at 2 o'clock in the morning just so you're not sad and crying. He would go out of his way if he could. And I know a lot of people are going to miss him too.
Kinowis leaves behind 2 children, aged 4 and 6. A new group home for people with intellectual disabilities was unveiled in Regina today. The home's 4 residents, Paige, Joel, Megan, and Taylor, cut the ribbon this afternoon. This is one of 14 homes operated by nonprofit Chippendale Homes. The Saskatchewan Housing Corporation provided a little over $1 million to help build it. The province will spend more than $570,000 a year to operate the facility.
Paige, Taylor, Megan, and Joel have been waiting a long time to have a home to call their own. And we are so happy for them that in February that finally came to fruition and they were able to officially move in. We'd like to thank CLSD and Sask Housing for all of their efforts to build this house, and to all the families, staff, Joel, Megan, Taylor, and Paige for making this house a home. Without the efforts of everyone, this could not have been possible.
The residents were also able to thank their families and the staff at the home during today's special event. People surveyed in Saskatoon say they're mostly satisfied living in the Bridge City. The data comes from a survey that polled about 800 people on civic services. Most of the respondents believe the city should do more to support homeless people. 1 in 5 thinks it's the biggest issue the city's facing. More than half of the respondents also want to see more affordable housing. However, they don't believe community grants are the solution. Nearly 20% of people say the city should spend less money on them. But overall, satisfaction with city services remains high, with more than 85% of respondents saying they're satisfied living in Saskatoon. The federal government has named a Quebec judge to head a public inquiry into foreign interference in Canadian elections. She will preside over the independent investigation looking at alleged meddling in the 2019 and 2021 federal elections.
In addition to examining and assessing interference by China, Russia, and other foreign state and non-state actors, Justice Ugg will also look at the flow of information to senior decision makers, including elected officials.
Quebec Court of Appeal Justice Marie-Josée Ogg will lead the probe starting September 18th. It will examine foreign interference threats by China, Russia, and other foreign states and non-state actors. An interim report is due by the end of February, and the final report by December of next year. The appointment comes after months of consultations between the Liberal government and opposition parties. One of the last World War II veterans in Moose Jaw has died. Al Cameron was 98 years old when he died and was laid to rest today. Alexander Kwan has more on what was a special tribute.
2 planes made a pass over Moose Jaw Thursday, marking the end of the remarkable life of Moose Jaw's final veteran of the Second World War.
Certainly a sign of the times. At his age of 98, there aren't too many left in that age limit anymore. So he was aware of the situation, yeah.
Alan Al Cameron died at the age of 98 last month. He was born in Saskatoon in 1925, and he joined the Royal Canadian Air Force in 1941. He moved here to Moose Jaw, where he completed his basic training. Cameron dreamed of becoming a pilot, but a color deficiency kept him from achieving that dream. But that didn't stop him from answering the call to duty. He became an airframe mechanic, and in 1944 he deployed to Italy and Britain, where he worked throughout the Second World War. After the war, he returned to Saskatchewan, and just weeks later married the love of his life, Yvonne. Cameron's son says his father loved his work and the job he did.
He did for about 6 months, and then he had enough and he went back into the military. He tried civilian life and didn't like it.
As he grew older, the commitment to the Royal Canadian Air Force didn't go away. High-ranking officers in the force who met him say he played an important role for current and former members.
He's actually pinned the wings off of a newly winged grad, so he was very much involved with the base, so this was very special for us to be able to attend.
We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, only know we'll meet again some sunny day.
Cameron's final message to his friends and family: be happy for me. I have had a long and wonderful life, and I look forward to being reunited with my wife, Yvonne. I could ask for nothing more. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Moose Jaw.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders held their last practice at home today before the team heads to Winnipeg tomorrow for the Banjo Bowl. The Riders looking to make it 3 wins in a row after beating the Lions before the bye and the Bombers last weekend. Winnipeg has dominated the Banjo Bowl, winning 7 of the last 10. Head coach Craig Dickinson says there are a lot of reasons that the back half of this home and home is hard to win.
Well, they're a really good team, first off, and you know, you can win a few games on emotion, and I think this game is a very emotional game for both teams, but especially for them. So I know they're going to come out fast. They're really well coached, so they're going to make some corrections, and it's a tough environment to play in. So lots of factors that make it tough.
D-lineman Pete Robertson will be serving his 1-game suspension after his headbutt on Winnipeg's quarterback last weekend. Dickinson says they will rotate linemen, relying heavily on Canadians. He added that offensive lineman Evan Johnson and defensive back Jaden Dahlke are banged up and may not play. Kickoff at IG Field is 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Another fall-like day in Saskatchewan. The day started off cool and breezy, and it certainly warmed up this afternoon. And the air quality advisories have been off and on as well. When we come back, Ethan will have your forecast. Stay with us. This year's wildfire season in Canada could last late into fall or early winter. That was the grim forecast today, according to Natural Resources Canada.
Indeed, despite the arrival of cooler night temperatures and decreases in lightning activity in the fall, ongoing warm and dry weather may contribute to new fire starts, and there remains a likelihood that some existing fires may continue to be active.
Wilkinson also announced $65 million in federal funding for wildfire equipment and other supports. It's the first payment from a wildfire fund available to all provinces and territories. Ottawa plans to provide $256 million through to 2027. Researchers from the University of Saskatchewan are tracking the rapid decline of a major glacier in Banff. It is disappearing faster than expected. As Dan McGarvey reports, it's a warning sign for communities downstream.
A team of researchers from the University of Saskatchewan takes to the skies over Banff National Park, high above remote mountain tops and pristine lakes, to glaciers and ice fields, and one that's disappearing faster than even they expected.
Well, dramatic change since last year, which itself had been dramatic change from the year before. This is the final end of our ice age. It's happening right now in our lifetimes.
For decades, Peyto Glacier's been a global reference point for scientists who measure the ice's thickness and its retreat. They say this year is on track to be one of the worst they've seen, adding to an already historic melt-off in 2021.
Normally the glacier would retreat 20 to 30 meters per year. It retreated almost 300 meters in 1 year after that. It's very challenging to see it disappear like this.
And then add 360 millimeters.
There's now a snowball effect of factors that could see this glacier and others disappear in our lifetimes. Peyto Glacier would usually have fresh snow on it at this time of year, but it's already melted, and without that fresh snow, it can't make the ice it needs to survive.
It gets into this death spiral of when we have this kind of heat, the heat itself melting things, and then the soot from the fire darkening the glacier, causing it to melt faster.
Other scientists who also study the glacier say that means it's getting much harder to monitor as it melts and collapses.
It's getting more and more difficult to access the glacier to do our field work. We're also seeing new crevasses open up in new places, as well as holes and parts of the glacier actually falling apart.
Eventually, scientists will move on from Peyto to study glaciers that aren't melting as quickly, leaving this landscape to change forever. Dan McGarvey, CBC News, Banff, Alberta.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Truck Mania is on now.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. We've officially hit that time of the year where you need to leave your house with a coat or layers. And then you go home wearing less because it warms up so much during the day.
Yeah, that's right. Turn that AC on in the car heading home and then quickly flip it back in the morning over to the heater to get things warmed up. But yes, this afternoon, well, you may not need the AC all that much. This is pretty much just perfect weather for this time of year. Pretty much seasonal through much of southern and central Saskatchewan. A little warm even at times in southeastern Saskatchewan, getting close to the mid-20s today. You see this pocket of kind of cooler air off into central Saskatchewan around the Prince Albert area, and that is because we have had some showers and some cloud cover around there this afternoon too. A few thunderstorms popping up, actually one just passing southeast of Saskatoon earlier this afternoon, bringing some little late season light show in that part of the province a little earlier this afternoon. Now, in terms of our air quality, just one lone area. This one has really been sticking around. We've seen the Weyburn Fort Estevan area under this advisory since this time yesterday. But Regina, Moose Jaw, Assiniboine, Gravelbourg, they've dropped off for you. And in fact, you can't see it here, but the warning does extend a little west of here, including a few RMs just to the southwest of Weyburn as well, around Pangman and area. Now, most of that smoke, according to this model, is going to be moving out. In northern Saskatchewan, we could see that kind of linger a bit into tomorrow. As of right now, doesn't look like we're going to need to see those air quality advisories issued for that part of the province, but we'll keep an eye on it. Winds are not very strong over these next couple of days, and that's because of an area of high pressure, few areas of high pressure that are moving in. So really any smoke that does move in, we're not seeing it move along too quickly. Now, for the kind of the rest of us through the province tonight, we're looking at fairly clear conditions. That high pressure begins to quickly move in. Could see a little bit of fog. There is a chance of that in most areas as we head into tonight. That high pressure moving eastward will leave us with a sunny day tomorrow, the exception being southwestern Saskatchewan. I think we could see a few showers from the northern edge of a low pressure system moving through Montana. But then you see high pressure, a dominating feature of our weather here on really all the prairies almost as we head through the next few days. That rainfall in southwestern Saskatchewan at the most bringing through about 5 millimeters, I think, in kind of the further south and west in the province you go, but nothing too extreme. Now, in terms of our overall temperature pattern, we're also seeing a bit of a ridge in the jet stream building in. So that warmer air getting in underneath of it there over the next few days here as that starts to move kind of eastward into our neck of the woods. And that means that temperatures will either stay pretty much where they are, or we may even see a little bit of a bump up as we head into next week. But for now, the start of the weekend looking very nice in Regina and southern Saskatchewan. Again, we're not expecting the winds to pick up all that much. And then heading into next week, that's when we could see that warm up with the occasional shower or two, maybe on Wednesday and potentially into Thursday. And Saskatoon, pretty similar a picture for you too. And look at those overnight lows actually going back up into kind of the 10 to 15 degree range. So frost, Sam, even though we saw the chance of that a little earlier this week, probably won't be an issue through the rest of the week.
Oh, good. I didn't know where you were going with that, and that's why I gave you that face.
And then we'll get the snow after that. Anyway, that's all.
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
We're back with more news after the break.
When it comes to your news, you want up-to-the-minute access. Anytime, anywhere. Get the facts straight from the source. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca for news you can trust.
The University of Regina will be printing more textbooks in Indigenous languages. It's thanks to a $125,000 grant from federated cooperatives and other co-ops across Western Canada. The funding will be in installments of $25,000 over the next 5 years. And with that money, the University Press will be producing textbooks and audiobooks in Dakota and Dene. Dakota is an endangered language, with some estimates suggesting there might be just 25 fluent Dakota speakers left. A First Nations University linguistics professor says he hopes this will help revive the language.
Dakota is a very seriously endangered language, and there's definitely a great need in the community for revitalization for young people who want to reclaim their language. And the same can be said for Dene. It's a stronger speaker population right now, but still suffering the loss of young speakers through the incursions of English. And this will just simply help people spearhead their own interests and their efforts to revitalize their language.
Wolven Gray says the money will also help professors and language experts produce content for across Canada. The term Two-Spirit was created in 1990. The English term tries to describe someone who is queer and Indigenous. But historically, dozens of Indigenous communities had their own ways of describing someone who is LGBTQ. Now, some people are reclaiming these words in their own language.
For me, finding out how to explain myself to others has been a lifelong journey. My name is Benny Michaud, and I'm a proud Michif Tostiinu person. The term that I really like is Tostiinu. And Tostiinu is a Cree and Michif term that means a person who is in between. And for me, that's a term that is really important because I find that it allows that part of me that I value to be understood by other peoples.
And our communities actually really held space for all of the ways that we exist on the spectrum and all of the different designations that people might have. My name is Siasin, and I am and identify as Dene of the Dene Nation. So my specific designation is Naglenabahi, which means the two-spirit at war, or the one that changes who is at war. And for me, it's really important that I name it and I say it in that way, because I want to name that our practices, our lived experiences, our life ways are consistently threatened by Western civilization as we know it.
Two-spirit was a word that was chosen by Indigenous members of the queer community to really act as an English placeholder for other words that we knew existed in our languages to explain who we are in all our diversity.
My name is Tori Ironstar, and sometimes Tori Ironstar Kakakawe. I identify as Two-Spirit. This sign is an American sign that identifies as Two-Spirit. It's not an official sign, but that's where they are currently using this sign as Two-Spirit unofficially, but I think that was from the Blackfoot tribe in the States, and so I kind of tend to use that sign.
You know, when I was young, I grew up with non-Indigenous folks, and I definitely came out later in life, long before I wish, or long after I wish I would have. My name is Melody Wood, and I am from Little Pine First Nation in Saskatchewan, near North Battleford. My language is Plains Cree, and in my language I refer to myself as Napegan, which means man-like. Over the years, I have learned so much from elders and knowledge keepers, and one of the things that has consistently been shared with me is that our cultures, our way of life, it is embedded in the language.
And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
And with high pressure in place means we'll be mostly sunny, albeit maybe still a touch hazy in Regina, although I should mention all the air quality statements now have come to an end as of these last few minutes here in the province. Looking at mainly sunny skies heading into the noon hour. Still could see a little bit of that haze around 20 degrees, again under mainly sunny conditions. And in Saskatoon, well, it'll be mainly sunny for you as well, albeit maybe a little hazy too. But look at those winds, only gusting to around 6 kilometers an hour. And that will stay in place as we head toward the afternoon. That's about where we'll top out temperature-wise in Saskatoon. And Susan McDonald sends us this lovely photo. This time of year, of course, all the birds starting to get ready to head out, but not quite yet with this nice weather. Sam, can't help but think they're conspiring against us here.
That's generally how I feel about birds, because I'm terrified of them. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Before we leave you tonight, a cool story for Lego fans. After 9 days of work and 50,000 Lego bricks, Faith Howe from Fredericton's on the cusp of breaking a Guinness World Record for building the largest Lego playing card. The card is nearly 2.5 meters wide and over 3.5 meters long. Guinness officials came to the public library where the card resides for the official measurement, and Howe is now waiting on the final verdict. And that's it for us tonight. Ethan and I will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.